Okay, so welcome to Blue Point Yoga's Yoga Over 50 class. For today, my name is Lynn. I can't see you, but I know you're out there. So welcome, and we often talk about experimenting in this class, and this is one big experiment. So I'm glad that you're joining me for that. So to begin, lie down. And I'll lie down too, because since I can't see you, I don't need to keep watching. So lie down, make yourself comfortable on your mat. If you have a blanket, you could use that to keep cozy. Let your arms stretch out to your sides. Let your palms face up toward the ceiling so that your shoulders can roll away from the front of your body and toward the floor. Let your eyes be closed or soften your gaze so that you're not looking at anything in particular. Let all parts of your body rest into the floor. You could have your legs outstretched if that's comfortable, but if it's not, just bend your knees and place your feet flat. Whatever parts of you are touching the floor or touching any props that you might have, just let your weight sink completely. Let your breath be easy, not doing anything in particular to it just at the moment. Easy in, easy out. Maybe put your hands on your lower belly. Feel your belly press up into your hands as you breathe in and drop back down as you breathe out. Everyone's got plenty on their minds these days, but for right now, just turn your focus inward, turn your focus to what we're doing here in class. It's a luxury to be able to just be concentrated on a limited number of things for a period of time. You can move your hands up to your ribs. You kind of cup the flare of the ribs. Feel the motion of the ribs as they roll up and out as you breathe in and fold down and in as you breathe out, kind of like you were opening and closing an umbrella. Maybe you move your hands up near your collarbone. See if you can feel the movement in the upper part of your chest as you breathe in and out. The lungs go all the way up there, a little bit above the collarbone. Maybe breathe in and then take a little extra in-breath, really kind of stretching the lungs out. And then let all the air out as you exhale. And bring your attention around to the back of your body where you're touching the floor and see if you can feel your ribs press out into the floor. See if you feel the muscles relax around the back of your hips, back of your shoulders as you breathe in. Rebound a little bit as you breathe out. I apologize, I have to keep checking my watch because that's what I'm using to do the timing here. Okay. And now let's do a little warm up here on the floor. So my aim for class today is to do some things related to the Warrior One based postures. And we'll do some on the floor actually to begin. But first we'll do a little warm up. So moving one leg at a time, bring your knees in toward your chest. You could just place your hands on top of the knees. On an exhale, squeeze them in toward your chest. Let your tailbone come up off the floor. And on an inhale, extend your arms. Let your legs drift away from your body and using your arms to move your legs, exhale them in and inhale them away a few times. And then hold on to your right knee and let your left leg extend along the floor. Take a long stretch between the two legs leading out with your left heel, squeezing the right knee in. And then on an inhale, we'll switch. And exhale to squeeze the left knee in, stretch the right leg out, and now inhale here, pressing out through the right heel. And then bring that right knee in again, and use your arms to circle your knees around, making kind of a 8 shape, moving the knees away from each other and then back toward each other. Go a few times around one direction. Just take it slowly and then go a few times around the other direction. And then bring them back together, and with your knees approximately over your hips, and your legs could be most anywhere. They could be folded down to your lower legs or up in a kind of tabletop. On an inhale, let your knees come away to the left, and then exhale and draw your belly muscles in to bring your knees back up through the center, and inhale again to let them down toward the right. Don't have to come near the floor at all. And inhale them down the other way, and exhale them to come back up through the center, just moving kind of slowly and luxuriously with your breath. And when you've got an equal number to each side, come back to the center and let your right foot drop to the floor, and hold your left thigh behind the thigh and draw your thigh in toward your chest. And on an inhale, stretch the left heel up to the ceiling, leave the thigh close to the chest, and then exhale to close it down again. And repeat that a few times, inhaling up and exhaling down. And then on the next inhale, stick the heel up toward the ceiling and then allow the leg to straighten by having the thigh come away from you, and then fold the whole thing back down. And then inhale to straighten the leg, pressing the heel to the ceiling, and fold back down a few times on this side. And then exhale that leg back down and let the foot come to the floor. And exhale to bring your right knee in toward your chest, squeezing the thigh to the chest. Inhaling to just open at the knee joint. The thigh stays down near the chest. Opening and closing a few times. Inhaling to open. Exhale to close back down. And now on the inhale, let the thigh come away from the chest, the leg straightens more, pressing the right heel up toward the ceiling, exhaling to fold the whole apparatus back down again, inhaling to come up, exhaling to fold back down one more time, inhaling the leg straight, and exhaling the knee back in, and exhaling that right foot to the floor. Okay. So now let's just do a little bit for the arms. So we'll inhale the arms up toward the ceiling and then back toward the floor. Palms facing in, doesn't matter if the arms reach to the floor. Be aware of what your back is doing as you lift the arms overhead. If your back starts to arch away from the floor and the rib cage kick out, just moderate the movement so that you can keep your back in kind of a neutral position with a small inward curve at the waist part of the spine. And then bring the arms up and we'll stretch them out fingertip to fingertip and let them make kind of a snow angel shape. So let them hands come down toward your hips and then sweep them up along the floor, up overhead and down toward your hips again. And then bring your right arm across your chest. So just kind of lay it across your chest and gently give it a little stretch with your left hand, drawing your right shoulder away from the floor, and then let that one relax and go the other way so that your left arm is across your chest, and just give it a gentle stretch of the shoulder away from the floor with your right hand, and then let the arms relax back down. And now we're going to do a little yoga on the floor. So, one of the warrior one-legged positions is actually warrior three. So we'll just do a little warrior three on the floor. So extend your right leg out along the floor. Whoops, I'm going to mirror here so I don't confuse myself. And draw your left knee in towards your chest. You can hold it behind the thigh, and then we'll extend that leg toward the ceiling, pressing the heel up toward the ceiling. Now, just experiment a little with the leg that's on the floor with your right leg, and notice how it feels a little different if you oblige the toes to stick straight up toward the ceiling versus letting them just shift out a little bit. Okay. So if you were in Warrior 3, the standing leg would be the one that's up toward the ceiling, and the one leg that's extended behind you in line with your torso is the leg that's on the floor. And then we could experiment with a couple different arm positions. We could reach the hands down alongside the hips, stretching the fingers toward the leg that's on the floor. We could bring the arms out to kind of an airplane arms with the arms stretched out from the shoulder and the hands facing up toward the ceiling. We could bring the arms up alongside the ears, palms facing in into warrior arms. Whoops, I think I just hit something on my earphones. Okay. Am I back on the air? I think I accidentally turned my earphones off while I was lifting my arms overhead. Sarah, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you. You're back on.
I can't hear you.
You're good, Lynn. 2 thumbs up. You're good.
It's okay?
Yes.
Now I can't hear myself, however. Shoot. I think I need to fix this. Now I'm back in business. Sorry about that. All bound to be a few glitches. All right. So we've had a little Warrior 3 on that side, and let's have it on the other side. And now my brain is so rattled, I can't figure out what I was doing. Okay, so draw the right knee. Is that the one you just did? Do the other one. So I think you have your right knee into your chest this time and the left leg stretched out along the floor, leading out with the heel. And now let's extend the right leg up toward the ceiling, lifting the right leg up. And this is the one that you're standing on. And give a little experiment with the other foot, obliging the toe of the left foot to stick up toward the ceiling and then letting it just roll out a little bit. Just notice what's different about that through both hips. And a little experiment with the arms, stretching down along the hips toward the foot that's on the floor versus out, reaching out from the shoulders with the palms facing up. If you were standing on that leg that's up toward the ceiling, you'd be making like airplane arms. And then with warrior arms, reaching your arms up alongside your ears. Okay, now I'm back. Okay, I cannot touch the headphones or they go off. And pull the leg back down. Super. And now we're going to do one more kind of Warrior 3 pose down here on the floor before we get away from the floor. So draw your left knee in towards your chest. Stretch your left arm out to the side. Use your right hand to bring your left knee across your body a bit, not a ton. Leave the back of your left hip down on the floor and then extend that leg. So reach that leg out and inhale it long and exhale to fold it back up a few times. Get a bit of a stretch out of your left hip there. And then extend the leg, leading out with the heel. You could reach the other arm out on the floor now, just leaving your left leg across your body. And we've got a sort of a reverse triangle here. And you'll see later when we're standing up how these things relate to each other. And then you can fold that left leg in and roll yourself back up to a center position. Give a squeeze of that knee toward the chest, drop the foot to the floor, extend that leg along the floor, reach the arms overhead. I will try not to turn myself off again. Exhale and draw your right knee in towards your chest. Use your left hand to bring it across your body. Stretch the right arm out along the floor. Inhale that right leg straight and exhale to fold it up a few times, feeling a stretch around the back of the right hip. And then leave that right leg long and stretch both arms out along the floor. The toes of the left foot are pointing up toward the ceiling. And then exhale to fold the knee back in and roll yourself back to a center position. Drop that foot to the floor, press that leg long, reach the arms overhead. Exhale the arms back down to your sides. Bend one knee at a time to bring the feet flat to the floor. Take a few sways of the knees from side to side, and then roll yourself over to one side. I got to be careful not to press my head into the floor or I'll turn myself off again. And then use your arms to press yourself up away from the floor. And we'll come to a hands and knees position. And do a couple things here. I think I'll face this way for the hands and knees. I hope you've got some props if you want to be able to give yourself a little relief under the wrists or a little relief under the knees here. So line up the wrists under the shoulders and the knees under the hip joints, remembering that the hip joints are a little bit to the inside and a little bit toward the feet from the bony corners that are at the front of the hips. Okay. And we'll just have a little mini cat and cow. So on an exhale, stretch the back of the spine from the tailbone up through the waist. On the inhale, give a little traction of the wrists toward the knees, expand along the front of the breastbone, and just take some movements back and forth with your breath, exhaling to stretch the small of the back, inhaling to stretch along the breastbone, back and forth a few times. And then on the next exhale, let your hips drop back over your heels. Inhale to come forward, let your weight continue forward. Exhale to bow down a little ahead of your hands. Inhale to press back up. Exhale, stretch the small of the back as you come back to extended child's pose. Inhale forward, a little stretch of the along the breastbone. Keep coming forward. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, come up. And one more of those movements, matching your breath. And come back to a hands and knees position. And
Lynn,
now, yeah.
I think if you turn 90 degrees, we can see you better.
Okay.
Yeah, then we can see what the movement is. Otherwise, we didn't see much movement.
Okay. All right. I'll just do a couple more of those. So we'll just rocking back to extended child's pose, forward, opening the front of the chest, exhaling to bow down in front of the arms, inhaling to press up, and exhaling to roll back, forward, stretching the front of the top of the chest, exhaling to bow down and back up to hands and knees. Okay, so now let's do a few things that are kind of similar in the leg department to what happens in Warrior One. So we're going to bring the right foot forward between the hands. You can get it there however you want. You could come to a kneeling position and then bring it forward. You can bring it out around your hand and kind of work it over between. You can bring it up under your body. Whatever works is fine. If you have something to prop your hands on, like some big books, or if you have blocks, you can use those. Then you can use that to make a bit more space under your body. You can keep a sort of a square position under your legs, or you can shift the front foot forward and the back knee back to make more of a lungy sort of position, keeping your back as straight as you can and keeping your joints of your legs lined up. So just Have the knee and the long bones of the legs and the long axis of the feet lined up with the hip joints and broad across the shoulders. So keeping the shoulders square. Okay, so now we've got one hip a bit behind the other, which would be the case in warrior one legs. And we could plant the left hand on the floor and bring the right hand up to the right hip and roll the body toward the bent knee, so opening up. If you like, you can stretch your upper arm out, just in line with the line between the two shoulders is fine. Keep breathing and roll back to the center. Bring the hands back down to the floor. And now tuck the back toe and lift the back knee. And we have a little bit of a kind of runner's lunge position here. And if you feel steady, you could press through both feet, the ball of the foot in the back and the foot in the front, to bring your body upright. You could also do this with your knee down. So you could leave the knee down and come up to an upright position of the torso. And whichever you're doing, we could bring the arms out to cactus arms for a nice broad chest here. And then whichever posture of the legs you have, bring the hands back. If you have the knee up, bring it back down. We'll return the front foot where it came from and take a little stretch back into child's pose. I think I'm still in the screen, according to what I see here. And then we'll do that same thing on the other side. So coming back up to hands and knees, and now getting your left foot up between your hands in whatever manner it needs to get there. Perfectly all right to scoot it forward in a few stages. And either keeping kind of a square shape or creating kind of a long triangle shape under your legs on this side. And giving yourself enough space across the shoulders so that you can have broad shoulders in front, long spine, all the way up through the back of your neck, out the top of the head. So now we've got the same posture of the hips, basically, that you have in warrior one legs. Let's plant the right hand this time and bring the left hand up to the left hip and roll again toward the bent knee. Now I'm facing away from you, I know. And reach out from the shoulder if you like with your upper hand. Keep breathing as you're a little bit twisted and bring the hand back down, roll back to the center. And now optional to tuck the toe on the back foot and bring the knee up off the floor. You might want to do the low lunge like this with the knee off the floor, but if you don't feel steady enough to rise up away from the floor in this position, just put your knee back down. Otherwise, press through both feet to bring your torso upright. And if you still feel steady, you can bring your arms out to cactus arms. And exhale to bring your hands back down to the floor. Let the knee back down. Bring the front knee to meet the back one. Take another little stretch into child's pose. Reach out with your hands, tuck your toes. Press the hips up and back into down dog. This would be down dog. You can take a little roll of the hips side to side, bending one knee and then the other. And then press away from the floor with the hands reaching out through the back of the hips. And then let the knees bend so that you can walk your hands back toward your feet till you are in a forward hinge with the spine stretching long toward the back of your mat, and let your hands run up your legs to make the long L shape. And take a little exhale down, a little bend to the knees. Let the arms sweep forward as you slowly rise up. Bring the hands together and exhale the hands down to the heart. Okay. Now, Sarah, you can comment to me on whether this is going to work out better with facing forward or facing to the side to do warrior one based poses. But for right now, we'll just take a standing mountain pose. So I'll stand facing you. So remembering where the hip joints are, a little to the inside and a little bit down from the bony corners at the front of the hips. If you wave your knees in and out, you'll feel where the femur's moving in the hip socket, and lining up the long bones of the legs and the joints of the legs and the long axis of the feet under those points, more or less, taking account that everybody's body is different. So we'll press the weight into the front parts of the feet, the pads at the base of the toes. Lift the toes up, spread them out a little, lay them down lightly. Press into the inside edge of the foot. You might feel everything except the arch. Press into the outside edge of the foot and the heel. So the feet are pressing down and everything else is reaching up. So past the ankles, past the shins, past the knees, up the thighs. Maybe the thighs are rolling a little bit inward toward the back, makes a little extra space across the back of the hips. Maybe the hips could just shift a little bit back toward the heels. Try to counteract the forward slinging of the hips that is a common posture these days. Turn the palms forward a moment, feel the shoulders broaden. Let the shoulders stay there while you let the lower arms and the hands relax at your sides. Think long through the back of the neck, as if you were reaching out through the back of the top of your head where your hair comes from. That's great. And let's inhale the arms up overhead and exhale to hinge forward. Let your hands slide down your legs. Keep your spine reaching long. Keep reaching out with the top of your chest, the top of your head. Inhale up to make that L shape again. Give a bend of the knees, the ankles, and the hips to sit into chair. Inhale to press through the feet. Inhale the arms up overhead and exhale the arms to the sides. Okay, so now let's start with a few warrior one based things. So we'll start with pyramid legs. So, okay, so here's where I'm not sure whether this is going to work better to face forward or to the side. Maybe I'll face to the side.
Yeah, I think facing to the side so we can see it is better.
Okay, okay, good. All right, so we'll stand in the standing mountain position. Let's bring the hands to the heart to begin. And we'll step back with the right foot. So you're going to step straight back, just a couple feet or so. And as you step back, pretty much inevitably, the back toe is going to turn out a little bit. So don't force it to face exactly forward, but just a little bit. But try to have weight into both feet, both the front foot and the back foot. Sometimes it seems like when you step back, all the weight wants to go into the back foot. And so now you might notice that your hips are off at a little bit of an angle, facing a little bit off to your right, but the shoulders are going to stay square to the front of the mat. So we got a little bit of a rotation in the torso here. So let's stretch the fingers down toward the floor and reach the fingers toward the back heel and let that open the top of the chest. You can look up a little bit if you like. If it's too dizzying to look up, just keep your eyes facing straight forward. Inhale to come back up to an upright position. And now we're going to hinge at the hips as if you had a dotted line here so that you reach your spine forward in the direction of your front leg. Perfectly okay to give a bit of bend to one or both knees. Draw your right hip a little toward the back and your front hip a little toward the front. Press purposefully into both feet and draw the thighs a little bit together for a very strong base of support. You can reach your hands back alongside your legs. You could bring your arms out to cactus arms here. And for even more of a lever arm, you could reach your arms out alongside your ears. And bring the hands to the heart. Give a little bend to the front knee. Press yourself back upright again and step forward to have the back foot meet the front foot. And pause a moment. Close your eyes a minute and feel the weight into each foot here, standing in the standing mountain position again. Take a few settling breaths. Now let your eyes come open for balance, although you are certainly welcome to practice with your eyes shut if you want to, a little extra challenge. And now we'll step back with the left foot into pyramid legs. So step straight back, the toes are going to turn out slightly, press the weight into both of your feet, draw the thighs a little bit toward each other. The torso is slightly rotated so that the shoulders remain square to the front of the mat. Stretch the arms down, the fingers stretch toward the floor. Let that stretching open the top of the chest. Look up a little bit of a slight upper back bend here, and come back upright, and then we'll hinge at the hips, leaning forward out over the front leg. Fine to have a bit of bend to one or both knees. Draw a little back with the front hip, a little forward with the back hip. Keep breathing, of course. Possibly try some different arm positions, maybe cactus arms or airplane arms. Or you could add to the lever arm that you have here by reaching the arms out alongside the ears. And bring the hands back to the heart, a little bend to the front knee, press the feet to inhale yourself back upright again, and then step back forward to the standing mountain position. Okay, so now let's go to a little bit of warrior one itself. So we'll start in the standing mountain position. And we're going to step straight back with the right toes and then let the left heel turn in a little bit. So maybe I should do this way, to step back and let the toes turn in a little bit. So we can start with the legs straight. So the hips now have gone off at a bit more of an angle because we've taken a larger step back. So our hips are going off a little bit to the right here. But we want the torso to be square to the front of the mat, so a little bit of a rotation to the torso. If you put your fingertips up to your shoulders, you stretch the elbows out to the side, you can see that squareness. Then we'll press into the ball of the front foot and bend the knee and sink the heel down. If you find that your knee has gone forward of your ankle, then you give yourself a little more space front to back. Let your arms hang down at your sides to make sure that your shoulders are up over the hips and that your weight is just traveling straight down between the legs and into the floor. Lots of options for the arms here. We could have cactus arms, nice broad across the front of the shoulders, or we could have warrior arms here, stretching the arms up alongside the ears. You can always have your arms out away from your ears at a V shape instead. And now let's press through both feet and hinge forward at the hips into an arrow lunge. And inhale back upright again. Bring the hands to the heart and step back forward into the standing mountain position. Pause a moment here. Now that you've stepped back into a more asymmetrical position, you might feel the weight differently into both of your feet. And we'll do warrior two on the other side. So this time you're going to step a generous step back with your left foot onto the toes and then turn the heel in a bit. So how much is a bit? Well, it just depends. So it depends on how much your hips are flexible, how much your ankle and the lower part of your leg is flexible. So it might be a little, it might be a lot. You can experiment a little bit, see what works best for you to keep your toes and your knees pointing in the same direction. Press into the ball of the foot, bend the front knee, sink the heel down so that the thigh and the calf and the long axis of the foot are all lined up on the front foot. Again, the shoulders are rotated a little bit relative to the hips because now the hips are facing off a little bit to the left. Go back the other way here. Torso upright with the shoulders over the hips. And we could experiment with some arm positions, maybe cactus arms, maybe warrior arms, maybe a wide set of warrior arms. Press through the front foot and the back foot, hinge at the hips, lead out, pointing the fingers toward the crack between the wall and the ceiling. And inhale back upright again, and bring the hands together and the hands back down to the heart and step back forward. So let's see. Let's now do a little bit. We're going to do part of reverse triangle. We're not going to do the whole of reverse triangle. So reverse triangle sounds like it ought to come out of triangle, but it doesn't. So reverse triangle actually comes out of warrior one legs. I think it'll be clearer if I do it facing this way, but if you don't think so, Sarah, then tell me, okay? So we're going to stand in the standing mountain position and then take a generous step back with the right foot, reaching back with the right toe, letting the heel turn in, letting the left knee bend in the direction of the left foot, drawing a little forward with the front hip, a little back with the back hip. We can straighten the knee again, so we'll keep both legs straight here. And then we're going to reach the arms out. So just stretch the arms out from the shoulders with the palms facing forward. And we're just going to rotate. So that's the part of reverse triangle that we're going to do. So we're going to, on an exhale, turn toward your front leg. So you're going to be going, I don't have enough room here. My hand's running into the wall. So we're going toward the front leg. So you're going toward your left. Just keep the arms stretching out from the shoulders and let your hips go with you. So the front hip's going to be drawing toward the back and the back hip's going to be drawing toward the front as you swivel around. And then inhale and swivel yourself back through the center. And we'll just go the other way and see how that feels on the hips. So swivel the other way. Now the front hip's going toward the front and the back hip's going a little back. The arms are still stretching out to the sides. And then we'll inhale to come back to the center and bring the hands together. Give a bend to the front knee and step yourself back forward to the standing mountain position. Back up a little bit so my head doesn't get cut off. Okay. And once again, just pause. In the standing mountain position, you might close your eyes. Feel the weight of your feet into the floor. See how your feet feel side to side. See how your legs and your hips feel side to side. And then we'll do the other side. So we're going to step back with the left foot this time, straight back, and then let the heel turn in. Just check that you didn't step too tightly back. So you want a little bit of distance between your feet, more or less the same distance that you had when you were standing in the standing mountain position. If you get on too much of a tightrope, it becomes even harder to do that reverse twisting for the reverse triangle shape. The part of the reverse triangle that we're not doing is to tilt the hips so that your upper body angles down toward the floor. We're just going to forget about that part. So the shoulders are toward the front of the mat, square to the front of the mat. And we're just leaving the knees straight at this time. So we'll stretch the arms out from shoulder to shoulder. And on turn your torso, rotate your torso toward your right. Let your back hip come forward and your front hip come back to help the twist. So we're not leaving the hips rigid here. Just turn as far as is comfortable. Keep breathing. On an inhale to rotate back through the center and then go the other way. So this time as you go around, it'll be easy to go because it's easy to draw the back hip further back, front hip further forward, keeping the arms stretching out from the shoulders. And then inhale to turn back toward the front Bring the hands to the heart, give a bend to the front knee, and step back forward to the standing mountain position again. Okay, great. So now let's go back to the warrior three that we did while lying on the floor earlier, only this time we'll do it standing up on one leg. So I think I'll turn sideways for this. So we'll stand in the standing mountain position. And pause here for a moment. And then shift the weight into your right leg. And as you shift into the right leg, just gather the right hip a little bit in toward the middle of your body and shift your weight a little bit back toward the heel. Stretch strongly from your planted foot all the way up that side of your body out through the top of your head, making a really nice column of support there. And then we'll move the unweighted leg behind the body. Just stand it behind onto the toe. And a perfectly okay warrior three would be to just extend the torso forward so that you've got a long line from your back heel all the way up through your torso out through the top of your head. So this would be a great place for warrior three. You can bring your arms out to the sides or along the hips or even straight out overhead. Perfectly all right to do that. If you like, you can put your weight more strongly into the supporting foot and begin to bring your unweighted leg away from the floor, hinging at the hip, bringing your torso down as far as the leg is going up and vice versa. And you can come over as far as seems prudent. Mostly this is a facing toward the floor pose. So your torso is staying fairly square to the floor. Your hips are staying fairly square to the floor. Just experiment a little bit. I think I'm going to fall over. Experiment a little bit. You can try a little bend to the knee. Perhaps that would improve stability, to let the knee bend a little bit as you hinge over. You could hinge over and do a little pressing up and down. Whew. So have a little experiment there, and when you're done, come back to the standing mountain position. Let your eyes close a moment, feel the weight into your 2 feet. Feel what sensations you're getting from each side of your body. Let your breath settle. And let your eyes come open. I think I forgot to tell you to focus on something that's not moving around. Okay, we'll do that on the other side. So start in the standing mountain position, and this time shift the weight into your left foot. Draw the left hip a little in toward the midline. That's going to make your other hip hike up a little bit. That's all right. Let the weight shift a little bit toward the heel of your standing foot. And we'll move the unweighted foot behind. And once again, perfectly okay to make a warrior three here by just leaning the body forward the same amount that the leg went back. If you like, you can begin raising the unweighted foot away from the floor. Stretch out through the heels, stretch out through the top of the head. Only go over with the torso as far as the leg is coming up and vice versa. Oops. Just experiment. You can come up and come down. You can stand near a wall so that you don't need to be afraid of falling over. You can have a little bit of the bend of the knee and press back up again. Whew, and then stand back up. Okay, so let me just show a couple of assists besides leaving the toe on the floor. So one assist, now this will look a little funny, I think, because I'm going to stand around and face away from you, is to put your hands on the wall and let your hands walk down the wall. I don't have a wall that faces perpendicular to the camera, unfortunately. This is pretty weird looking. So you'd make the L shape This is annoying. Okay. I can't touch these headphones at all. Okay, so press into the wall. Now you can shift your weight into your right foot and control the hip and bring the left leg out behind you. Keep pressing into the wall. Keep stretching your unweighted leg away from you, keeping the shoulders and the hips facing down toward the floor to the extent that you can. And then you can bring that leg down, give a bend to the knees, walk the feet back in and stand up. And if you're trying that, of course, do it on the other side too, so you don't wind up feeling all lopsided. Yeah, gotta adjust a little bit to get the right distance away from the wall so that you can really press out firmly and squarely through both arms. And keep breathing, of course. Come down and press out. And the other thing that can be a handy prop that we don't usually have in the studio, but that you would have at home, perhaps, is a chair. And you can step back, make the long L shape here, shift the weight, stretch your leg out behind you, and make a nice warrior 3 shape here on one side and the other side. And back down and bend the knees, walk in toward your chair and stand back up again. So I think Sarah is going to send out a message about props, things that you might have at home that you can use while we're doing this home practice stuff. But for now, let's come back down toward the floor. So we'll inhale the arms up overhead, exhale to hinge forward, stretching the spine long, reaching out. Let the knees keep bending till your hands can come down to the floor. Walk the feet back into down dog. Press away from the floor with your hands. I'm making my hands unusually wide so I don't squeeze off my earphones again. Let your knees come down to the mat. Let your weight roll forward till you come to a half plank position. And then we'll bend at the elbows, keeping the elbows close to the body to let yourself down onto the floor. Stretch your arms alongside your body with the thumbs away from your body. So your palms are down and the thumbs away from the body. And in this position, if you kind of press your fingers into the floor, your shoulders will come away from the mat so that you create a broadness across the top of the chest. Press down into the top of your feet, into your thighs, into your pubic bone. Inhale to stretch forward, keeping your face facing toward the floor, stretching the back of the neck long to make a sort of a vulture circling baby cobra shape. And exhale back down. And inhale up again. I'm gonna see how this looks. I haven't seen how it looks before. And exhale back down. And inhale back up again. And this time, if you'd like to stay inhaled for a couple of breaths, you could. You could bring your arms out away from the floor in any shape that you like. And then we'll bring the arms back down and let the hands make a pillow for the head. Bend at the knees. Take a few swishes of the knees from side to side. Bring the legs back to the center and lower them, and then roll over onto your back. And here you might want, my headphones are trying to fall off. You might want a little prop under the bum to make it easier to bring the legs up over the hips, so as stacking your palms under your hips, or if you have a little pillow or a little towel or something like that nearby, you can bring the legs up over the hips. Just take maybe about 5 or 6 breaths here, just letting the legs stay up there more or less of their own accord. If it feels like you're having a big abdominal exercise, bring the legs further toward your body. You can bend your knees if you like in order to let the weight of the legs come further toward your body so that they stay up there pretty much by themselves. And then we could have a little pointing and flexing. If you point out through the ball of the foot, less likely to have the instep cramp. You can do alternate feet flexing and pointing. That feels one way around the back of the legs and the back of the hips. And if you point and feet both point and flex both at the same time, that feels a little bit differently. And then let the knees bend, let the knees come toward the opposite armpits. You can hug the knees toward the chest. You could put your hands behind the thighs and then open at the knee joint so that the feet stick up toward the ceiling. If you want to reach for your shins or for your feet, you could do that. You could just keep your hands on the back of your thighs and do a happy baby position. Maybe a little roll from side to side. See if you can experiment with letting your tailbone sink down toward the floor while you're in this position rather than having the tailbone pulled up away from the floor. It makes a little different stretch through the back. And then let go of the feet, let your legs relax. Let the feet come to the floor. It is time for Shavasana. So make yourself comfortable on the floor or with any props that you might have handy. If you have a chair handy, like I was just having here, you could put your legs up on a chair. That's a very nice Shavasana position to have. In any case, let your arms rest out to your sides with your palms facing up. Let every part of you rest into the floor. Let your shoulders drop away from the front of your body. Let your eyes close or let your gaze be soft. Let your breath be easy. Check around your body. See if you're holding tension anywhere. Is there anything that's not resting solidly into whatever you're resting it on? If so, maybe let your breath travel in and out there to give it a little better rest. So this Shavasana will be a little shorter than we usually do in class. We'll end it in the same way with some gentle movement and then coming to a seated position and closing with an Om. But if you would like to have a longer Shavasana, just disconnect and you can have as long a one as you like. Now let your breathing become a little deeper, a little more active. Start to bring a little gentle movement into your hands and feet. Maybe just fluttering the fingers and the toes a little bit. Just let the feet roll in and out, or the palms turn up and turn down. Bend one knee at a time to either bring your knees in towards your chest or to bring your feet flat to the floor with the knees bent. Try not to push my chair over here. You take a few sways side to side or a few rolls. You can use your arms to move your legs around, create a little bit of a massage for the back. Let that rolling or swaying carry you over onto one side and rest there, pillowing your head for several breaths. Just rest with your eyes closed. And when you're ready to come up, use your arms to press yourself from the floor so that your head and neck hardly have to do a thing. And make yourself comfortable in a seated or a kneeling position for just a minute here. Sit so that you can have a little forward tip to the pelvis so that your back assumes its natural curves with a little inward curve at the waist part of the spine. Weight rests into the forward part of your sits bones and into the sides of your legs and feet, whatever might be touching the floor. Lots of space at the front of the body. See if you can be relaxed at the hip crease at the front of the hips. Shoulders hanging away from the ears, elbows hanging close to the body under the shoulders. We'll bring the palms together and the thumbs near the breastbone. You can feel your heart. You can feel your breath. We'll close with one Om after an inhale. Namaste. Now I have to turn my headphones back on. I must have hit them again.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Everybody hang on. I am unmuting everybody so we can all say hi. I've stopped the recording. So I'm just got to go through one by one. Let me see if I can do a better job.
See if I'm going to be able to see people.
Mute.
What was that? Oh, puppy. What was that? Oh, puppy.
So I still see the record button on, but maybe not.
It has,
Oh,
I've
now,
got